Cotton around here lately?
Cotton here.
My name is my name.
Voice of rising rage among young African Americans toward law enforcement. On the other side of the badge, urban cops were feeling besieged, trying to keep peace on increasingly hostile turf. Relations between hip-hop and the law were at an all-time low. They were about to get worse. Tupac Shakur may have been born to confront authority. The son of two members of the Black Panther Party, Tupac was raised to share the Panthers' suspicion of law enforcement.
And the police are there not to, in our community, not to promote our welfare or for our security and our safety, but they're there to contain us, to brutalize us and murder us.
Tupac comes from a family that struggled for freedom, justice, and equality.
After an adolescence marked by turmoil, Tupac aimed for stardom as an actor training at Baltimore's School for the Arts. But fame came instead from his skills on the microphone.
And since a man can't make one, he has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up.
Alternating defiance and compassion in his rhymes, Tupac's style was one of a kind. But with success, a darker side of his charisma emerged.
Tupac was like the schizophrenic kid. On one hand, he talked about political organizing and he said things that were very smart. On record, he said some foul things about people. I mean, really nasty stuff about killing people and jacking them.
Determined to firmly establish his street credibility, Tupac tightened his connection with gang members and became the embodiment of the thug lifestyle.
I can't speak on exactly why Tupac dived into the thug life, but I think that he himself has said that in order to reach that crowd, which was the most important crowd to him, he had to be that crowd.
His outlaw image was solidified on the night of October 31st, 1993. As he was driving away from a gig in Atlanta, Tupac spotted two white men confronting a black motorist.
He got out of his car and tried to intervene. Like, yo, what the fuck, you know? They saw him and immediately pulled out their weapons.
Tupac grabbed his own gun. Shots were fired. Both white men were hit. They were cops. But the off-duty officers were found to have been drinking. One of the guns they carried turned out to have been stolen from a police evidence locker. All charges against Tupac were dropped. Tupac had shot two police officers in Georgia and walked away a legend.
He's not only just talking and talk, but he's walking a walk. It made him, I guess, a folk hero.
He made being a thug being sexy. He flaunted it. And I think that, to a certain extent, police and authorities didn't want it to be made sexy. They didn't want people to think it was okay, you know, to be a criminal and to be rich and famous.
This cannot happen. They cannot afford for this to happen. They have to set an example. We have to bring him down.
Some now believe that after Atlanta, Tupac was marked for a takedown by police.
I think the claims are unfounded. They cannot be justified. Law enforcement has greater things to concern itself with than trying to take down a single individual.
Just 18 days later, Tupac was in New York shooting the movie Above the Rim when he went to a nightclub and was introduced to a female fan. A sexual encounter that started on the dance floor moved to Tupac's room at the Parker Meridian Hotel. Four days later, the woman returned for another encounter. Later, she called the police, alleging rape. The woman claimed that she had gone to the hotel to be with Tupac, but was instead forced to have sex with members of his entourage. Tupac's advisors recalled that a new member of his crew, named Jack Agnew, had twice insisted on bringing the women to him. Some suspect he was sent by the government to entrap Tupac.
the evidence shows is that Jock was in one of the most anomalous and unexplainable positions. Someone who, for reasons even today no one understands, was connected to Tupac, and who happened to be there when trouble came and happened to be gone when it came time to answer for it. And there's some things you can never prove.
Los Angeles Police Chief William Bratton had just become New York City's police commissioner. He dismisses the notion of a conspiracy.
Those alleging there's a conspiracy against Tupac to prevent his rise to fame, it certainly failed. So I wouldn't pay too much credence to those allegations. Once again, it's a way of trying to deflect attention from the issue, which should be violence.
Tupac's trial began in late 1994. His image as a thug was central to the prosecution, but his defenders say he was on trial more for his status as a rap icon than as an alleged rapist.
The government was able to make an argument in the course of the case of this jury about Tupac and thug life.
The prosecution declined to speak with hip-hop justice, but Professor Charles Ogletree remains convinced that the deck was stacked against Tupac.
You may not like his personality, you may not like his lyrics, you may not like his tattoos, you may not like his wealth, but none of those, not a single one, in any way makes him guilty.
But as the jury deliberated, the prosecution's portrayal of Tupac as a gangster seemed to play out in shocking fashion. Making his way into this Manhattan recording studio after court, Tupac was shot 5 times and seriously wounded by an unknown gunman. 2 days later, Tupac was wheeled into court to face the verdict. Guilty on 2 counts of sexual abuse. He was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. Professor Charles Ogletree drafted an appeal on Tupac's behalf, attacking alleged violations of Tupac's right to a fair trial.
Well, first of all, we filed a brief, and the case was pending appeal, and we certainly would have been overturned.
The appeal was never heard. In September of 1996, while free on bail, Tupac was gunned down in Las Vegas. Although the murder took place just hours after Tupac initiated this casino brawl, the gunman was never found. One of the dominant theories about his unsolved killing was that it was part of a brutal East Coast-West Coast rap feud. When Tupac's rival, East Coast rapper the Notorious B.I.G., was murdered in Los Angeles in March 1997, a media frenzy ensued. Rumor held that the hit was in retaliation for Tupac's murder. Rap's worst stereotypes had taken root. Hip-hop was now seen as the new organized crime and a menace to society. Law enforcement would have no choice but to react.